Diamond Bank, we believe no idea is too small and no dream too big to come true. Diamond, your bank.
I am Ojo Zokalo, the founder of Slug Holdings. In 25 years of our existence, this is our success story.
Slug Holding has expanded, growing fast and providing broader business opportunities for the international market. Since 1995, we have remained one of the top 50 commercial enterprises in Nigeria with over $2 billion asset. Slug Shipping, Slug Oil and Gas, The Sun Publishing and Printing, FI Bank and IIC Insurance all over West Africa. Slug, your dependable business partner.
Welcome back. Yes, indeed. Now we'll be talking about developing the economy. So many perspectives to that. But we're joined this morning, as you may have seen in that welcoming slide, by Sam Ohabama, who is the president, Nigerian American Chamber of Commerce, and is the immediate past chairman of NESG. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you very much.
Let's start off with getting your perspective on this, what was said earlier on. We started out with that too in our opening sequence, where the Lagos State governor was talking about patronizing made in Nigeria goods. I do know that some time ago this year there was this talk about draft policy on patronizing made in Nigeria goods. It was going to be talked about in the FEC. How do you, I'm sure you broached this topic several times. What's your perspective?
You can bet. Well, we have spoken about this for years. My days as man chairman for Ikeja and the Man Council, NECA and what have you. And government has always tended to agree with us. In fact, during the President Obasanjo's regime, he actually mandated that government should give priority to made in Nigeria goods. But when we still went to the offices, we found foreign furniture, we found everybody was just doing what he wanted to do. So most of those platitudes were held in breach. So we have continued to say, okay, can we legislate it? And government have been trying to see whether that is possible, especially now that we are hooked onto the WTO protocols, which says no ban, no restriction, keep the doors and the borders open. So I think we're trying to walk that tightrope. But I think the comment by Babashola Fashola yesterday was very, very unique. Because we've been speaking about buy made in Nigeria, but the way he related it to unemployment was unique. He just said, look, the simplest thing is think of whatever is being imported into the country now and say, how do I provide a Nigerian alternative? That was me a new perspective to this problem, because it really simplifies it. It's just like when I speak about people being able to create value, and I say, in those days, it used to be a lot of problem that when you thought about value creation, manufacturing, people were thinking, when will I get money to build factories, machineries, so people tended to go for softer issues, trading, commerce, and so they were always frightened into not attempting production and value addition. But we're saying these days, you don't even own a plant. You don't need to buy machinery to be a manufacturer. Many companies in the country have excess capacity. And therefore, if you are really interested, is it in pharmaceuticals, is it in food production, is this in juice, whatever, you can buy some capacity that exists in other companies and just go with your own brand, develop your own brand. And you can start with somebody making for you, made by Nimet International for so and so. You start to market. When you generate sufficient capacity, then you can begin to build a plant and so forth and so on. So you will have started, and that's what many people do today. They go start importing finished goods. I mean, some of the great industrialists we have today, like the Dangotes and all, started with importation. But we can reverse it. Rather than import, you can develop locally using other people's plants. In fact, there are some plants that are being built today just especially for toy manufacturing, franchise manufacturing. So they make it for you until you're willing and able to build your own plant.
Because I know the MDAs can play a very key role here.
Yeah.
Only recently, I don't know if it was for this subsidy, I know there was some matter that buses were required to be procured. They weren't assembled here. I think it came in finished, but they will have an NAMCO. Is it that an NAMCO cannot do what is required of them?
An NAMCO, there is this other new company in Newi that is also assembling buses. You know, private. This is private. You know, and NAMCO has all kinds of ownership. I mean, we have private company now. They can, but you see, there are two issues here. First is that we still are not very confident that locally assembled
that was where I was coming to.
Just good enough.
They talk about quality.
Yeah, it's still in our mentality. It may not be the reality. It's just perception, you know. And secondly, behind some of this is this penchant to be corrupt. I mean, let's just call it that. People think it's easier when you import things, you can hide things, you can transfer money left and right. That has not completely been wiped out. That tendency exists, that people think it's better you buy things outside and you can make more money. There is issue of quality for a few other people. They bother about quality. But today, the world is operating, because if you are assembling Peugeot cars, if you are assembling Mercedes cars, there are qualities that are inbuilt. The guy who is giving the franchise or the ability to must insist that you reach a minimum quantity. And global concepts are such now that products made all over the world at least meet minimum global standard. For you to see a Mercedes mark or Peugeot mark or whatever mark in your car, there is an assured minimum. People don't sell you or help you build a plant and they depart. They supply your parts. They have a responsibility to support your quality operation.
So do you think that is part of the problem? Because, I mean, we know that assembly plants didn't just start. They used to be the case. We used to have Peugeot plants and Volkswagen plants. Well, some people say Volkswagen is still not dead, but we don't know if they're still assembling anything in Nigeria. That used to be the case, and people had the confidence to buy. In fact, when you thought about buying a car, that was what you thought of. You didn't think of importing one.
Yeah.
So how is it possible for us to go back to the days of franchising? Because some of the things that people have an issue with, as you rightly pointed out, is the fact that sometimes the products are not known, and then they are also assembled here, especially when it's something as technical as a car, for instance.
Yeah. Well, I think that is the route to travel. Because I know people have criticized our earlier manufacturing philosophy, which was substitution. And we said, well, it's okay to start primary manufacturing from raw materials, but if you couldn't do secondary manufacturing, package things, bring them here, and let there be some input, some value through labor, through supplying of some, low base parts and constituents. It's better you brought anything here and then you assembled them than you didn't. You didn't. That was what Peugeot was doing. That was what Volkswagen was. There was no part, but they had begun a process of backward integration. In the 90s, that started after doing this substitution manufacturing. Government spoke about backward integration. If you are making beer, you need to get to sorghum and get to maize. If you are making pharmaceuticals, you need to get to starch and all that. It started to work, but policy inconsistency, we abandoned it. And everybody would take the least line of resistance.
I was thinking of us also talking about something which you also have hand in, strategic management buyout. We have so many young Nigerians who are looking in that regard, because we have to take a cue from where Maupe left off. Some of these companies, some of them once upon a time were actually wholly owned by foreigners. How can some young entrepreneurs coming up